Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to our webinar. I'll be going over some of our new features. I'm going to start with the ability to drag and drop files. So if you have a document in your Microsoft Explorer, you can now click and then drag and drop the folder into the job file section. We know someone pointed out that you often are trying to drop files directly from email, and we can't do that right now. So right now you'd have to take it from your email, drop it onto your desktop or into a specific folder, and then drag and drop it into the job file section. So you can see I just dropped those two documents into this paperless folder. So if I double click, I have a picture of a slab and a picture of a PDF, an estimate. And from there, I'll go into a Paperless App edition, new feature. So for those who aren't familiar with the Paperless App, it's typically certain files are connected to specific actions. So that might be a template or install action. But with this paperless folder, and you can now drop any document into the paperless folder. And if I open up my paperless app and click get files, I now can access those two files for that specific job. So that could be helpful if you're just wanting to provide any other information for your templators and installers. You'll just drop it into the paperless app and then, or into the paperless folder, and then your guys out in the field can access those documents. In addition, well, I will say that if you don't currently have a paperless folder, you might want to add that to your as a default folder. And so you can ask your account manager, or we have documentation online. It's called just default folders. So that'll show you how to make sure on every new job you have a paperless folder. The other thing in the paperless app is we want to make this, we're always balancing what would someone use the mobile app for, and what would someone use the paperless app. And now you can click actions in the paperless app. So if I click done, it'll give me similar, I don't want to make it anything two-step. We'll say, okay, no, wait, need backsplash still. If I click submit and refresh, that install was completed. So if I go into the history, that was completed by John. Though I don't see that comment. So I'll double check where that comment went. The next thing is paperless multiple Power BI feature. So if you click the Power BI button, when you opened up this screen, it used to show one Power BI dashboard, and now we have the ability to add multiple. So there will always be the custom dashboard we provide. And then if you are a person who creates your own custom dashboard, I just copied the other ones, but if you have one that you've tweaked, you could include that custom. So this might be my own personal custom dashboard. Maybe your sales team will have their own dashboard, and then KPIs. This is a feature or a function that Power BI allows. I'll go into this later, I guess, but there's basically a lot of possibilities for if you wanted to have different dashboards for different people, and you can set those based on individuals. And so the way you do that is in administration. And then for each user, you can add as many custom dashboards as you like, and then include a custom link. So for those interested in including multiple dashboards, we do have a support document for that. And your account manager, Tyler, and I can also help you set up those custom dashboards. Next, cost ad percent. So I think this is a common question. which is I want to increase my cost by a certain amount, or your what you're charging your customer, so that would be your unit revenue. You could have sometimes if you have a retail calc type, you may want to add a certain percent based on your revenue. And then lastly, sometimes you want to add a certain revenue based on a percentage of what you paid for that sink or that slab. And so we have a new feature under the tools menu. So if you go to administration, SKU items, calc types, and then tools. So if I select one item. So this is, let's say it's a template charge, and maybe we've been doing a lot of template charges recently. Up here, you enter the price, or you enter the increase as a decimal. And then if I hit the tab button, it now shows up as 10%. And if I click set revenue equal to current revenue plus this percentage, it'll ask if I'm sure I want to do this. And now that went up by 10%. You can, if you don't like that, or if you did that by mistake, you can hit the undo. But if you like the change, you'll hit save. Similarly, if we find, let's get sinks. Go down to the sink. The cost in this case is 75. If you'll have to select the sink that you want to increase, and then in this case, I will say, this will be a big drop, but let's say we're just going to do 25% of increase of the cost. So 75 times 1.25. And then it sets the cost or the revenue based on the cost. So that is the new feature that will let you quickly update prices. Of course, you could always select multiple and, increase all of the prices for a certain calc type at once. We do, in that case, we'd probably recommend that you would copy your retail or copy your calc type before you did that, just to make sure if you increase the price for all of them, you could go back. You could always, I guess, go up and then go back down, but probably the easiest would be just make sure you save a new calc type before you do that. So that is it, a SKU item administrative function. And now I'm going to go back into our drawing module. Yeah, that's the rest of them. And first, you probably noticed these large buttons in the top of our middle pane. So if I click the rectangle, we now have the ability to add these preset shapes. So it's just going to drop each type into your drawing module, and then you can easily modify the dimensions there. We can also we know a lot of times your estimates or what you get to make a drawing comes in what's called fractions. And so you can, or I guess it'd be more likely like tenths or something. You can now type a fraction and it'll convert into the decimal. We also, this was one that got requested a lot. That was a little bit tricky, but we figured it out. If you have an arc, you can now add a seam to the arc. There's our little seam. And then fractions. When I right click and add a sink cutout, you have always had the ability to add a specific sink model that would get added to both the drawing and your line items. And now we can add faucet layouts as well. So if I click one whole center, you can see there's a faucet layout. And if I left click, we now have the faucet layout on the drawing, the sink model, and then we can see in the line items we have if you charge for a specific faucet layout. And here's my sink model, and then here's my cutout. And so that is the faucet layout feature. The other thing I forgot to mention is there's the big drawing button now. You all are used to this smaller drawing button, and this does the same thing. So if I click this button, I can, isn't that split the price under the slab? I can now do this. It's the same drawing button you're used to. It's just a little bit easier to access. Okay, got a question. Art does allow us now split the price under the slab layout function. I don't know. Let me see. So it allows you to split the top. Oh, the piece. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yes. So here's splitting the piece. That makes a difference. Piece versus price. So I think you can message if, does that answer your question? Yeah, here's our new split. Okay, awesome. So that, I know I ran through those. I'm happy to go back and review any of them. I can go into like the nitty gritty of, setting up. We've got a little bit of time, so I can go into the nitty gritty of setting up faucets or anything if people want to dive in a little bit deeper. And then if you join late, it will be recorded, so I'll post the recording. But that is some of our big main feature or new features recently. So thank you for joining, and I'll stick around and you're welcome to ask questions. Okay, great question. So for setting the faucet holes, you will go into administration, and you're going to create a new class, and it's going to be called the faucet. Well, you can call it what you like, but we call it faucet layouts. It will be a calc top type, so you probably want to set it uh similar to maybe where you have your sink models or something like that. And then you'll go down here and create the different. Great question. I'll get to the undo button question in a second. You'll create the name of your faucet layout, and then you'll scroll to the right and you'll have lots of different drawing items. So we have a lot of different drawing items for the faucet. It starts with faucet, and then it has some details beyond that. What you can do is if you go to support.actionflow.net and type in faucet, you'll go to the creating advanced drawings for quotes. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, we have all the different faucet layouts and what drawing item you would select. And so then you could look for the specific faucet layout that you would like to use, find that drawing item, and select that specific drawing item. And then you'll want to add, if you actually, regardless, you want to add it into your calc top, and then if you charge for that, you can add a dollar amount for what you charge for that faucet hole. Or if you don't charge for it but you still want it to show up as a line item, you'll add it. You just want to add it with a zero cost. So let me know if you have further questions on that, or your account manager can help you with that. Status on the undo button. Okay, yeah. So status of the undo button. We know this is a very highly requested feature, and we're working on it. And basically, it's really complex. So it's in like version 10 or something like that. So it is high on our priority list. It is a high goal for us as a development team, and we're just trying to be really, really careful to make sure that we do that well. Because if you hit the undo button, it basically that impacts lots of different things. It impacts inventory. It potentially impacts your price. And so anytime we could potentially impact what you end up charging, we want to be really careful. So it's still very high on the priority list. I think it's the top voted feature under feature requests. And so we're working on it, and we are, yeah, basically working on it, and it's higher on our priority list. And I will say lots of these features, if you don't already know, if you're an administrator, you can go in and request features and also vote on features. So actually, a lot of the new features you just saw were ones that had high numbers of votes on this feature request page. So if you didn't already know about that and you're an administrator, definitely vote on those, because it helps us know how to best add new features. So let's see, I don't want to rotate the shape, but adjust the degree. Yeah, so adjusting the degree of the angle, it should, let me see. It's the same. So yeah, your angle snap. Need to adjust the degree of the, yeah, it actually, it works the exact same. So if I said angle snap 5 and then hit the draw button, so my angle snap is still on the bottom of the page. You're welcome. Angle snap is at the bottom of the page, and then if I left click and then left click again, yeah. So it's actually, it's the exact same functionality. We just moved it to be a lot more obvious because this is a little bit harder to get to. So yes, were we able to adjust the degree of the angles with the new button top? Yeah, Crystal, let me know. Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, no, that's a good question. If you're gonna, if this is kind of a quick and dirty batwing, basically, so it's, I think, default to 45. No, to adjust after it's drawn. I see. Yeah, so this is just kind of a quick and dirty 45 degrees. But no, right now, we know your question. Basically, you would like, once you draw this bat wing, it would be nice to be able to adjust these angles. And we've thought about how that would work. Um, and so it's definitely on our radar. We're not sure how difficult it would be to basically kind of display and redo the angles. But I understand your question. But yeah, if you have a specific angle for a bat wing, you want to use the draw button. And then if it's not a 45-degree angle, you'll want to use the draw button. But I do understand your question and understand why it would be nice to adjust those angles after it's drawn. So thank you, Crystal.
You'll notice on the screen that you're on a little small subtle change, but it had a few people confused. What used to say slab details now says inventory items into the area data section. So that's basically the same functionality. Just wanted to point that out for those that are watching. And the other request I have for you is the feature request interface is great. Taken a little while to get people to use that. However, I've had a lot of people kind of frustrated that they put in a request and they don't ever see the request bubble to the surface. So maybe you could explain the process after a user submits a request, what they can expect. Would they ever know if the feature's been either accepted or rejected? If it's rejected, would they get a personal response back that lets them know that, this is not possible? So they're kind of wondering what happens to it after they submit it. Kind of goes into a black hole and they don't know if they'll ever see it again.
Great question. And I guess I'll say so basically when you add a new request, it gets put into our, I don't know, portal or a kind of internal feature portal, and it goes on to kind of a short list of, hey, these are requested features, and then we can either accept them or say, we don't think this is viable. And the way it should work, and again, what I'll say is we're developing it, so Tyler did enable us to be able to send the emails directly to the people who requested it. So the goal would be that, yeah, someone would request a feature and then they would get an email that says, hey, this has now been accepted and can be voted on. So if it's accepted, it would then go onto this list and would be at the bottom. And then that's when you start recruiting your friends and recruiting other fabricators to say, hey, I think this is a fantastic feature and let's vote on it. But yeah, the goal would be, and then, okay, after it, becomes something that's either has high enough priority or is a high enough bug level, The other thing that should work is then when we switch it from, it's been accepted into, hey, we're working on this, they should also get an email that says, hey, that feature you requested, we are now able to work on that. But if people, as we're developing that, it wouldn't hurt for, see, I think Tyler's on. Let me see if yeah, and in theory, that's how it should work. So, but if that's not happening, we want to make sure we kind of get that honed. That would be the goal, though, that you request a feature, you get an email that says either, hey, this is why that's not feasible, or, yeah, it's been accepted. And then once it's accepted, it would go onto the feature request page. And then once we just start working on it, they would get another email that says, hey, we're working on this feature now. That would be the goal.
Would it be possible, since all of the customers are connected to account reps one way or the other, that the account rep also get included in that correspondence? That way, if it's rejected, then we can talk about alternate methods of doing things and kind of make sure that they don't feel like it's been rejection is never a positive feeling
Oh,
anyways.
right.
That way you can at least jump in and say, hey, that feature request was either worded wrong, or maybe there's another way we can phrase it so that it makes a little bit more sense. I mean, that's what I've done with a lot of my clients. I've kind of helped them, coach them, if you will, on maybe how to make the request so that it kind of falls in line with the way the data structure is, rather than, asking for something that I already have a good insight that it's not going to happen just based upon the way the request was made. So if we can include the count
Yeah.
reps in that correspondence, that would be great.
Yeah, I think Tyler, I'll talk to Tyler. I think that should be pretty feasible to do, actually. So then but I guess I shouldn't say that because I wasn't the one who did that feature, or the email. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that would help just to make sure everyone's on the same page. And again, I guess rejection, yeah, that's kind of weird. I thought I enabled everybody, but maybe I have to enable everybody beforehand to be able to.
So while we're doing that, the other thing I wanted to bring up, and it was just released recently, I was talking with Tyler. There is a brand new version of both Android and iOS mobile app. It's a very important update that you should, as quickly as possible, get all of your users to log out, download the latest version, log in. The reason I'm bringing it to the forefront here is because it has a very important update, and that being that the permissions of the users on the mobile app up until this update has been pretty much non-existent. In other words, a contract installer can make modifications to jobs and accounts that impacts back in the database. So we've updated the system such that the same permissions that are on the desktop version now apply to the mobile app. So it's real critical that we get all of our customers aware of this as quickly as possible. I think I won't say it's a security issue. I don't want to take it to that extreme, but in some cases, some companies, they protect certain parts of their database pretty heavily, and they certainly wouldn't want a mobile app person to make changes. Hello, Tyler.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Roderick. It's a good point. That update went out this week. Regarding the first part of your question, the request features, Grace, yeah, you nailed it. Basically, they go into a bucket, and then we as a development team approve or deny. An email will go out to those customers either way, and it's a custom email, so we'll be able to let them know why it was denied. It's not just a, hey, you've been rejected.
Okay.
Kyle mentioned in the chat, sometimes we'll deny them because there's already a similar request. So that email should clarify that. And if there are requests out there that, hey, you haven't gotten an email from us, you don't know it's in the black hole, feel free to reach out. We may just not have gotten to it in the bucket yet. And then, we can take a look at it.
Thank you.
The Facebook page is a great place to talk about different features and encourage people to vote for the features that you would like to see. So he included the Action Flow Q&A page in the chat. Yeah, if there are no other questions, we'll sign off, and I'll post the recording in a couple days or shorter. And we'll see you all at the next webinar.